Well, hello and welcome to this week's Viewpoint. I'm actually not in Equatorial Africa, but in the Barbican Centre in London. And it's where we've been hosting a conference today on the Comprehensive Area Assessment. Now, the CAA is rolling out already, and indeed its first annual report will be coming out at the end of the year. One of the issues, of course, is the fact that the Conservatives have made it quite plain, should they win the general election in 2010, that they will abolish the CAA. So one of the issues which certainly was aired this morning was how the CAA will carry on. And I think the general view was that it will still carry on in some form. The name might change, but even if there's a Conservative government decides to abolish it, some of its principles will certainly carry on in its themes. Now, the Conservative proposals with the CAA, of course, came out on Tuesday this week in a long-awaited Green Paper, which was announced by David Cameron and Carolyn Spellman in Coventry at a conference. The Green Paper was trailed at the end of last year and went back into the engine room to be remodelled a bit. Obviously, since then, we've got a new Shadow Community Secretary in Caroline Spellman, Eric Pickles having moved on. Key areas of the Green Paper, a lot of it, to be honest, not that much different to some of the government's own White Paper proposals last year. The Conservative Green Paper is keen on having more elected mayors, making it easier to have elected mayors in the big cities. It wants to see more powers of general competence used, which again this government is keen to do. It wants to encourage councils to be able to keep any extra business rate revenue, and also to keep any extra revenue arising from new housing estates, although at the moment there's precious few of them. It is also, even though it still proposes to abolish the Comprehensive Area Assessment, it also wants the Audit Commission to take charge of a new function, which is to monitor the government's own grant regime. So certainly for the Audit Commission, whatever happens with the CAA, it looks like it's going to be carrying on in some form or another with their new jobs. One of the other stories in MJ this week was the merger of the senior management team between two districts in Oxfordshire. They've had the same chief executive for some while. This time they're moving down the ladder. They've appointed chief officers and they're moving down below that. That's certainly a very interesting development, one to keep close eye on. There's also been some questions over the impact of the credit crunch on LAA targets, and as to whether or not some of the money available has now got rather overtaken by events. We've also got a couple of other stories of interest this week. Nick Rainsford, the former local government minister, has written a column saying that councils are not using their powers to impose a supplementary business rate. He feels they should be doing more of it, although of course business would have certainly take another view. A couple of other stories which we've run this week. One is one of the big regional newspaper groups complaining that council newspapers are increasingly a threat to them. As we know, a lot of the local media is having a difficult time at the moment with classified advertising dropping, and they're certainly turning around and blaming some council newspapers. Many councils have been looking at placing things like statutory tenders in their own papers rather than the local papers. Another story which might be of amusement is an article on different uses of language under different governments. Speculating as to whether or not a change of government nationally could mean that certain words go out of fashion, whether that be words like stakeholder or cohesion or whatever, and be replaced by different words. Finally, we've got an article by David Prince asking whether or not the finance director role in local government is going to go back to the future, if you like, and we'll see a return to prudence in the light of some of the more speculative ventures, particularly to do with the Iceland Bank saga. So, as always, this week it's been a busy week in local government. Thank you.